Well, football has returned, and so has the Gooners in Vancouver post-match reactions on Canon Fodder TV, a channel for Gooners all over the world. And where do we start with this one? Manchester City 3, Arsenal 0. And well, we really have a lot to unpack on this one. It was almost like the season was starting again, wasn't it? Being off for so long. And let's have a look at the starting lineup. For me, I was pleased with the starting lineup. What I liked about it the most was that we were showing our intent with playing Saka in his favoured position. For me, that's what we should be doing to get this young man to commit himself to the club further. Let's make him feel comfortable. Let's show him that he's an important member of the team and have him start important games in his favoured position. And you know what? I think he gave a good showing. Before I get on to the rest of the match though, still looking at the starting lineup, there was two omissions. One, which would come and haunt us a little bit later, David Luiz, which I'm going to come back to. But the biggest one for me was that our highest paid player didn't even make the bench. Now, there was no pre-match messages that he'd had an injury, and he'd featured in the two warm-up games that we had against Brentford and Charlton, and he didn't make the squad, didn't even make the bench. So I'm going to be very interested to hear in the next day or so what the reasons were behind that particular decision. The other one was David Luiz, who for me, he's one of our most senior players, and I'm sure that, when David Luiz saw the team lineup and saw that he wasn't in it, if that was me, I would have been itching to get on so that I can, prove to the manager that I'm a valuable part of this team and that my contract should be extended for at least another year. But that's not what happened. Wow. The team were working so hard, I thought. We weren't trying to play it safe. We were having a go. We were working the ball nicely up the pitch. We managed to get into the Man City's box a few times. There was one chance I remember where the ball got crossed in and Mustafi came sliding in at the far post and he was just a fraction away of getting a connection to the ball. Where I think around about 40 odd minutes, possession was about 50-50. It looked to me that Man City were looking at some points in that first half to wait for us to come forward and hit us on the break, on the counter-attack. But we were showing tenacity. We didn't show fear. We were willing to bring the ball forward. And then we had the first of our little upsets, which is something that Mikel Arteta probably couldn't legislate for. And we lost Granit Xhaka. Granit Xhaka went off on a stretcher. He was replaced by Dani Ceballos. And for me, I was pleased that Dani Ceballos came on, simply for the fact that this is a player that Arsenal were considering trying to make a permanent bid for, and I've not seen quite enough of him. So I was glad that he was going to come on and perhaps have an opportunity to show us of why we should be pursuing him as a permanent player. But then our other player, the other player that I've been looking forward to seeing, Pablo Mari, who we've got on loan, and we are considering perhaps making a permanent move for, he got himself injured as well. He had to be replaced with David Luiz. And as I was touching on earlier, David Luiz should have been waiting in the wings, biting at an opportunity to try and get on, and his chance fell right in his lap. And what did he do? He gifted them a goal, which for me, it almost looked like he assisted the goal. And then to make it worse, rather than trying to make up for it, he causes us yet another penalty and gets himself a red card. First, initially, I thought the red card was maybe a little bit harsh. But then you have to look at it in the way that, their player was, the last man on goal with perhaps a goal-scoring opportunity. So maybe the red card was the right decision. But if David Luiz gets himself back into the squad, I'm going to be very, very surprised and a little bit disappointed. For me, David Luiz should not have his contract extended, and I do not want to see David Luiz still at Arsenal and working with our young defenders such as William Saliba, who's going to be coming in. And I don't want a player like William Saliba, you know, learning these bad habits of players like Mustafi, David Luiz and Socrates. If we go down to 10 men, it's game over. From there on, it's game over. I mean, I looking at some of the players on the pitch, and another player that I was very, very disappointed in was Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, our captain. You know, every time the camera went on him, his head was down, his shoulders was hunched. I didn't see him trying to G up the rest of the players, you know? Did not look like captain material to me, and didn't look like a player who claims that he loves the club and that Arsenal hold the keys to his future and that he wants to stay. He looked like that he wasn't really giving too much to me. Really didn't really care that he was up for it. A few other players went missing today. But you know what? We were working so hard up until that point. We were working so hard. And it's got to be disappointing, you know, if you're one of David Luiz's teammates, to see him yet again, you know, lay all of your hard work to waste.